What up, YouTube? It's your boy Banks, and we back in the building. You feel me? It's True Talks, cause True Talks. All right, let's get straight right into it. So you already know, man, dog. Watching Derozan, man, and watching how he's been playing is just special and it's just great to see. You're seeing him do something that, like, anytime you can get any modern player or any player from this era to be in the same breath or to break a record that Chamberlain has set, that's when you know you're doing what elite looks like. Because that dog, you know, it was unfair, his stats, bro. He was playing there's no three in the key. If you take a shot, he goaltends that. Give me that shit. You know what I mean? It's mine. It's now an alley. He could turn your jump shot into an alley because there's no three in defense. There's no three in the key offensively. There's no goaltending, like, dog. And then you add his length and his shooting as a big and skill and, dog, running downhill like that and athleticism, dog. That's why you see 50 points per game. That's why you see what you saw, dog. Or that's why you see the stats is what it is. It's unbeatable. It's unbeatable. 50 and 30 in a season. Like, dog, what are we talking about here? You know what I'm saying? But so the fact that Derozan could beat that kind of stat monster in any record, doesn't matter if this 35 per, this is kind of cut. When you start cutting off at this and this and this, it kind of gets fabricated. Like, you could bring out any stat. I've seen the other time, Jokic is the first 26, 14, 7, and then the shooting that no one has done it in history. Like, you could always like cut off categories. If you added 1 more %, someone else would have had done it. If you're minus 1, you know what I mean? You could always, like, that's why these new NBA history stats, like, I kind of get it starts sickening me to my stomach because it's just fabricated, even though it's still elite. But it's like, it's you're maneuvering, you're playing categories. They have like some type of algorithm where they could just type in something. Whoever has this, let's see. And then it populates and it only shows one person. Okay, we found a new one. Minus that number. Oh, there's 5. Okay, no, add 1 number to the percentage. Okay, minus 1 number off the rebound. They probably have some type of stat algorithm counter where they input these stats that they can find that out, right? It's just like you're fabricating at this point. So I don't like that, but this one isn't that much of a fabrication. Like, 35 points per game on 50% shooting. There's only 2 things. 35 points per game, 50% plus shooting, which is hella elite. They didn't bring in his threes because you already know he's not doing that from 3. But 35% on 35 points per game on 35 points per game on 50% shooting for 7 straight games. No, even Wilt Chamberlain hasn't done that. That's crazy. That's hard to do for 7 straight games. They went 5-2 in those games, but like 35 points per game on 50% shooting. Jordan hasn't done it. Wilt Chamberlain has it for 7 straight games, yo. Kobe hasn't. Like, that's an elite feat. That's an elite, like, that's elite. That's not fabrication. That's basic level, just stat. 50%. We always want to shoot better than 35 points per game is a proper cutoff. It's not 34. It's not 33. It's not 32. It's, you know what I mean? And like 35 points per game is hella elite. Even 30 is hella elite, but 35, dog. And then to know that now when you comprehend that he's doing this on ability. Dog, this is a career year for Derozan. This is the best he's ever looked. And this is why I get frustrated, because Derozan has always had this skill. Just because you've always had this skill does not mean you've always displayed it. And what I mean by that, yes, you might have displayed some skill set in terms of what you've been doing. You've displayed it. It looks similar to what we've seen before. But the confidence behind it, the aggression behind it, the purity in terms of the efficiency behind it has not been at this level, because the confidence has risen to a new level where you believe and you feel and you know that you're that guy. That's why I try to dive into this game of time, like the mental aspect of things, right? Not just the play style, not just the ability, not just the arsenal, not just the purity of and the authenticity of the sport, but part of the authenticity of the sport is actually compartmentalizing and dissecting the mental aspect of the game. Because if you look at it, essentially basketball is 80% mental. Some people say 90, some people say 95, some people say 85, but it's nothing less than 80. It's 80-20 at worst if you feel like that, because, you know, some people, they're mentally strong, so they wish they had more skill and they would be a different player. So, you know, for some people it's different. Some people have the skill and they know the mental is so crucial, so they say 90-10. So it depends on the person you are for that type of rating. But regardless, you'll never hear somebody say basketball is less than 80% mental. You'll never see that, because mental, that's why you see these two guys can be skilled. But if this guy has a better mental game, he now becomes a superstar and this guy just stuck at all-star. You see that all the time. Or he's a role player. Like, you see that all the time. The mental and aspect and situation has a lot to do with a lot of these things, right? Not necessarily the skill. Some of these guys' skills don't even get possessed not possessed, but their skill doesn't even get displayed because the mental thing is hindering them from displaying that skill. So what I mean by that is, me and you could be two shot critters to have elite ability, but you're only comfortable with the bright lights, just spotting up and catching and shooting because you have a mental weakness. You have some fear behind you where you're like, what if I miss though? He might bench me. Obviously, that's part situation too because you might get benched. But let's take it further. You might not even get benched, right? You have the green light, but you're like, dog, if you start missing, you know that affects how you even play. So you're not gonna take shots that are like you have to dive into a deeper bag that are more difficult, right? Because regardless, no matter who it is, those shots are more difficult. Even if they make it look easy, it's still more difficult. But the guys who take those more difficult shots like it's a catch and shoot shot with ease and don't care because their mental fortitude and their mental capacity is up here where they have no worries. They can shoot that, and if they go 1 for 10, the next shot, they isolate every shot. They have a mental fortitude and they have mental strength in how they let things affect them and get them out of their game and get them out of their zone. Where this player needs to they're only comfortable in this scenario of just catching and shooting. So they both have that skill set because when you go to practice, this guy's doing step backs the same way this guy's doing step backs and shot creating the same way, and they're killing each other in practice. But in the game, he's just a catch and shoot man, and this guy's doing it. That's mental aspect. That's a mental fortitude behind that people don't dissect. They just now call this guy's trash or he's only a catch and shoot guy. He's a role player. Leave him. When they don't actually dissect, this guy just has a stronger mental game. He doesn't care. You have to be stronger where you don't care. It's like going on social media. A guy don't care about the comments or he comments back at you and he don't care. That's KD. He don't care because it doesn't affect his game on the play. Some guys don't dive into talk or it doesn't affect his game on the court. There's some guys who won't ever engage in social media like that to that magnitude. They'll watch it, but they won't really engage in that to that magnitude because they know it might affect their game. If they look at it too much and they complain that they aren't shooting as much, they aren't shot creating as much, he's running to the paint. Now they're like, they have to make a statement. They have to do that makes them overthink their game when they're in the game and playing. Where you see like KD, that shit don't matter. I could talk shit to you a second, an hour before I'm actually about to go on the court and I can still bucket. Like, dog, come on now. That's where it mentals. That's why when they say KD is mentally weak, that's the biggest lies of all time. KD actually has the mental fortitude of what you see MJ, Kobe, and those guys. Dame, what you see. Because the fact that a man could talk smack to you on Twitter right there and read everything that man's is saying, every negativity thing, every positivity thing, he can read everything that man's is saying and still not affect him on the court to one bit. That is one of the most mentally strong things that anyone could do. And we actually didn't even see that from Kobe and MJ because they didn't have social media. So like KD actually mentally, it should be of the ilks of them because that's what he's doing. You've seen it affect LeBron. Miami Heat series, we seen it. There's been no scenario where it affected KD. There's been no scenario. You know what I'm saying? So like when you look at it from that aspect, like mental basketball, the mental part of basketball is something that needs to be talked about more. So this is very applicable to DeRozan. You see how he came out with he said he had mental health issues and he was dealing with depression and stuff like that. And I didn't know he was dealing with depression or anything like that when he was with the Raptors, but I knew that mentally there was some mental weakness there. You dealing with depression, yes, obviously it's normal when it happens, but that is some type of mental weakness. It doesn't mean you're just frail or whatever the case is, but there's people who in the same boat as you have whatever, and they're not dealing with depression because they're mentally strong. They have the capacity to not dive into it, and if they dive into it, they can snap themselves out of it. Like they're more mentally strong, and it doesn't affect them on the court. They might deal with depression the minute they step off, but it doesn't affect them on the court. When it now trickles and it affects you on the court, to now you're making a statement that I deal with depression, etc. It's not that it's not okay to do that. It's not that it's not true that it happens, or it's not that mans don't be like, okay, we understand the mental aspect of basketball and stuff like that and go get help, go see therapists. You're seeing that with Ben Simmons. But there is, when someone says they're mentally weak in comparison to this, you can understand that because not everybody is that. There's guys who aren't that and can dismiss that and it doesn't even enter their brain. So that is some sort of mental weakness. Now, I didn't know he was dealing with, like I said, on a depression level, but in the games I could see. And when I know you're mentally weak is because when it's comfortable for you, I've seen him in regular season games versus bad teams or whoever. It's not an important game or whatever. I've seen him display killing ability. And I'm like, this is disgusting. Then the next game, it's a big game. And out the gate, he's doing the pump fake, pump fake, pump fake, pump. You see how now he's doing the pump fake, but he's like drawing fouls and he's actually pump fake. It's like Kobe pump fakes, where he's like pump fake, is a pump faking artistry IQ as part of the arsenal to get a bucket. Before he was just pump faking to draw fouls. So if mans didn't jump, he's stuck and he has to do a pass out. That's right there shows me mental weakness, because when you're in your bag, you don't do those pump fakes like that. You actually do shimmies, you do shot creating, step backs, you do pull up, hezzy, whatever the case you're doing in your bag in the midi. And you only pump fake if it was covered well, but your pump fake then turn into a reverse pivot. You're not just pump fake, you don't jump, then you don't do nothing and you pass. That means you just pump fake to just get the easy route of drawing a foul and go to the line and then you're just afraid and you're mentally weak because you drastically change your level of play in those moments, what you would normally do. When I say a guy's mentally weak, it's not by the results. I always say that all the time. It's not because you miss shots. It's not because you airballed or whatever. Like, it's because, like, you seen Kobe in Utah first 3 games, those 3 shots he airballed in the playoffs, whatever, in his first playoffs like that. It's not about the results. It's about, do you move differently? Your ability. Do you move differently because it's a bigger game or because it's clutch or whatever the case is? Do you move differently and uncharacteristic from what you normally are? And that's when I say it's a mental weakness. That's when you get nervous if you play ball. It happened to all of us. There's been a moment where you've gotten nervous and you kind of like your heart's beating like, damn, and you're uncharacteristically, you're not yourself. You're not aggressive. You're going through the motions. You're not killing like you should be. Everybody, even MJ, even Kobe, even the most mentally strong guys have had a moment where they were nervous, but they stepped themselves out. Or they, maybe even just jogging out into the court. Everyone, like you seen Chauncey Billups say that, you get that heartbeat where you're just like, whoo, you get that adrenaline, but then the mental strong ones turn that nerve into, whoo, that awaken me. It's like it's nerve, and some people stay there. But for the real ones, like that, it's nerve for a minute, your heartbeat, and then you get excited, and you're like, whoo, I'm about to kill. Dog. Me getting nervous, that's not how I'm about to, it awakes something out of you. And those are the mental ones over here. If you know exactly what I'm talking about, right? So that heartbeat feeling, everybody gets it naturally, but how long it exists, how long it lasts, do you just dive into that and think about it and succumb to that? That's where now it separates the deer in the headlight guys versus the guys who seek the bright lights, that run to the lights. There's a difference. So when you look at that, and then there's people who are both, they're kind of, it's like dictated depending on severity of intensity. You know what I'm saying? So when you look at it from the aspect, DeRozan with the Raptors, especially his playoff woes and the big, not even playoff woes. If you go back and look, regular season games, marquee matchups where it's like, it's a playoff push and it's like you have to make a statement game. He shies away and he just looks nervous and he'll go 1 for 9. And I don't care. It's not about the percentage, but he only took 9 shots. And he wasn't getting double teamed, right? Or he's getting double teamed and the way you normally used to play in is not working. Well, with the mental guys over here that are strong, I don't need no screen because they're double teaming me on the screens. KG's hedging me from Brooklyn series on the screens hard. Forget the screen. I'm going to ISO and kill my primary matchup. I'm going to kill him. Paul Pierce is guarding me. I'm going to kill him. That's what Kyrie does. And he's getting a screen is not working. Okay. Or if he gets a screen, he still dribbles through out of it. I'm not passing, because I see what they're doing now. When I hold the ball and I pass because I'm shorter, I'm Kyrie. You see, even seen him with Brooklyn now in these road games when there was no Harden. He's getting doubled so much that when he forces pickup on the double and he has to jump to throw it over guys, there are long guys that are doubling him, 6'4 plus, 2 guys, and the other guys are 6'9, 6'8. So their hands are long. So when he tries to jump and throw it over, it gets tipped and he gets turnover. So what does he do? No more screen. Or when they try to double, I'm going to dribble out of it and not force my dribble and split and whatever. And I'm going to kill like he did versus Miami on that 18-point fourth quarter straight. You know what I'm saying? That's the mental strong ones find a way of their do. What I normally do, okay, it's being challenged, it's being canceled. Okay, cut that off. Do this. Their brain is working because they're mentally strong and there's no worries and they believe and they have confidence. And that's what DeRozan lacked, was never the skill. It was actually the confidence in terms of in these moments. He took the more mentally weak approach where it affected him in a worse version, missed free throws, not even being aggressive, chilling in the corner where now Lowry's doing stuff. And then anytime you get it, you're just trying to draw a foul or just pass out. So it's bad takes. How many times do you see DeRozan go to the paint now and do layups? He's bare shot creating. He doesn't have to. He goes depending on the defense. That's what you should have been when you're mentally strong and you're confident. The DeRozan you see now is not the DeRozan you saw with the Raptors. Don't get it twisted. Even though he had the skill, it's not the same skill being operated behind that confidence. So when you look at that and you isolate that and take that away, he went to the Spurs. It was basically similar to Toronto. Go look at the big playoff moments or play-in moments or whatever. Same story. But what happened was now when he left, what did he say on Reddick's podcast or whoever he was talking to? He said Popovich has challenged him to his manhood, to his real, challenged him a way no man has ever challenged him. And you know Pop is old school. Pop is of that cloth. He treat Tim Duncan the way he treat Patty Mills. He treat Tim Duncan the way he treat, you know what I'm saying, the back man of the bench. Or he treat the star the same way. He don't, dog, what are we talking about? So he challenged, I already know, because I'm like, DeRozan has become this guy, is basically unbreakable. But I always want someone to improve their game. I always want someone to get to a new best version of themselves. And what happened, I said, for him, there's going to be some way for him to he has to be mentally changed. I don't know how it's going to happen. And that is unlikely, especially for a player by himself to do it. Rarely do you see, this is your character. That mental thing is normally a character makeup, right? If this is your character, how you operate in those moments, it's hard to change those things. Because you can have all the skill in the world. You can practice clutch by yourself in the gym or with, clock and simulate it to the best point of your ability, but you can't simulate the crowd. You can't simulate all those factors. So what happens is when you get back to that moment, everything you practice gets erased. It's like it's a new moment. You can never duplicate that. Palm sweaty in the clutch. You can never duplicate that. So that's what I was like, when a person shows you multiple years or they had 10 clutch situations and they've always been anus in those 10 clutch situations, you're going to see them as okay. That's just who they are. You know what I'm saying? So they can't change that. You have to just remove them from those lights, which is what I saw. That's why I said DeRozan at his best, if he's with another star. When Rudy Gay came in and he took those clutch shots and whatever, that's when you seen DeRozan played his best. Like earlier on, he played his best where there was no pressure on him to be the main guy or whatever, and you seen him thrive. So I'm like, see, it's a mental thing. And then what happened was, now when Rudy left and DeRozan was being number one again, he got back into where you're the number one guy, you can't escape it, and you saw the drought, you saw what you saw, where Lowry now has to step outside his bag and do way extra stuff. And it's like, you see Lowry keep trying, right? You see Lowry go from no skill and then he's applying skill in moments because his mental aspect is so strong. He's a pit bull and he's not going to shy away. He's going to find a way. Where DeRozan has all the skill but was mentally weak and he shies away. When it should be actually be Lowry, because the lack of skill, shy away and go to the corner, and DeRozan steps up in the clutch. That's how it should have been. DeRozan was the franchise guy because of the ability, everything. But it was reversed. Mentally, Kyle Lowry was stronger. DeRozan wasn't. So you've seen that happen. You've seen that dynamic happen. And then when Kyle Lowry struggles, it's like it's guaranteed the Raptors are losing, right? Because like that kind of push, that fight to the end, it was Kyle Lowry doing it. He trickled to the rest of the team. So when you look at it from that aspect, the confidence and the mental fortitude for DeRozan wasn't at its highest. And like I was saying, that doesn't really ever change for players. But when you're fortunate enough to be with an OG like Pop, whether it's a player OG, a coach OG, one of them ones, they have tactics to mentally challenge you to the way you've never been mentally challenged you, that now you could be a whole new man. And that's what happened to DeRozan. I don't need to get into what actually happened. I don't know. We don't know. He didn't say. But I could tell, especially when the whole Dwayne Casey, traded him. Dwayne Casey got fired and Masai traded him, for Kawhi. And you see Kawhi winning and you're looking at yourself like, he's doing what I should have been doing. Like, you feel it in your chest. You feel salty, right? And I know he did. It's human. As a hooper, you're supposed to. If you didn't feel salty, it would kind of be like, you don't even love the game like that. If you're sussing the runs and they don't switch the team out, they only switch the coach and you as the main guy, and the core, the same guys are the same, and they win. And the first year that guy comes and you're watching him play clutch and all the ability, the game winning shot, doing everything that people wanted you to do and people forget about you, you're going to feel it in your chest. And I know he probably had, some dark times, and he had some times where he had to, as a man, just talk to Popovich. And I know Popovich woke him up, gave him a whole new night. This is what people, not saying that Popovich is a preacher, but this is the same dynamic that, the preacher and a member has, like the same type of dynamics, right? That a pastor and a guy has, where it's like they have certain ways of just getting to you to now make you see a different perspective, and then you get back to your new, fresh self at a new, better version. You become changed because you see the light through the God talks to them through. I don't get into the spiritual stuff, but that kind of dynamic, a mentor, whether it's a father, like you have somebody that kind of helps you break out of that if you can't do it yourself. And that's what Popovich was to DeRozan. You could see it because him coming, that's why he's like, I'm going back to the East. I'm not going to go to the Raptors. I'm going to go to the Bulls. Part of it, you go with LaVine. It's not like it's all you. You still have LaVine. That's what I said. That dynamic is being dismissed. People aren't looking at it, right? That's part of it. Because if DeRozan went to a team, maybe the Raptors, where it's just all him as you're the main guy, like no one's even come close to your ability, right? On the team, it's the pressure's on your back every single night. He doesn't really, he has it, but he doesn't really, because it's like a 1A, 1B, like they're together. Like LaVine is that guy too. People know that. So the team has to, when I'm talking about defensive scheme and schematically, right? The team who's guarding has to, they can't just lock it on DeRozan because LaVine is there. He's an all-star too, right? Yeah. So he's a superstar too. So that kind of already alleviates you, so you can now be in your bag. And I always said DeRozan at his best, if he has another guy equivalent to him in terms of ability or even better than him, but equivalent to him, because Lowry wasn't equivalent to him, was like this. Lowry was overachieving. That's why I said when DeRozan was with Rudy Gay, equivalent ability, obviously Rudy Gay, was trying to make a point, so he was breaking and forcing stuff or whatever, but that's not the point. Ability-wise and stature-wise, they were coming in like, okay, these two guys are here, right? Whether DeRozan was here or whatever, they're still here, right? So when you look at it from that perspective, that's when you're seeing DeRozan play out of his mind because they can't lock in on you as much, whatever. Like DeRozan always seemed as a guy that when he's with someone else like that, he's gonna rise his level of play. And so when that's part of it that's being dismissed, that's also part of it. When he went with LaVine, he could rise his level of play. I could see that. But even then, for the most part, what did the most, I'll say maybe 30% of it is him being with LaVine, but 70% is the fact that Popovich got into that mental game. Popovich got into that headspace, and you just see him now. He's the confidence he's exuding, the ability he's exuding. It's not just the ability. He's always had this ability, but now even the ability gets more advanced because the confidence you have and you feel like you're that guy. You can make any shot, 2 back-to-back game winners. The takes he's making with the feet work, even from 3, even from further distances, pump fake, no shot. And he's not pump faking to pass no more. He's actually pump faking. And even though there's nothing there, he'll switch his pivot move his feet, have good feet work, keep the pivot and just adjust his other foot, the legal foot, and then shoot. Fade in, fall in, whatever, and it's still splashy. Like, this is who he's supposed to be, man. Always. If you know me, when I've killed DeRozan, I was killing what I saw on the court in terms of the mental weakness. The ability I've never killed. That's why I was killing him, because, dog, you're supposed to be, you know what I mean? This is who you're supposed to be. Don't be mental weak. Snap out of it. And he did. And this is what you're seeing. And this is why it's been a long time. Like, I haven't talked about him because obviously not on the Raptors, whatever, but I talked about him here and there. But like, if you see me on IG, I talk about him, like the confidence, like this is why people have to understand mental aspect of basketball, yo. A lot of this is just his mental game. Majority of it is his mental game that has put them, this is his best career year. It's beautiful. We still have to wait to see till playoff time because that's when you could really test it, because if you sit back and in hindsight, you look, DeRozan has had multiple regular season years, even with the Raptors, where he's been killing. He did MJ type of stuff and whatever, right? But like stat wise, but always coming into the playoff time, he dives back into that shell. And this one doesn't look like it because he looked like in those years, he was still never really clutch in those seasons. Now he's clutch in these seasons. So that to me already, like in this season, he's already been clutch. Bare games. Like he's top clutch player in the NBA right now. That has never existed with DeRozan. These haven't even sniffed it, right? I'm just talking about eye test wise. I'm not even talking about numbers, whatever. Eye test wise, because he could get 8 points a quarter just off layups and free throws and stuff like that. Don't mean you're actually really, I mean clutch where it's like, dog, You need a bucket. The team goes to you and you get a bucket with all the pressure and the focus and all eyes on you one-on-one. Silence them. That's what I'm talking about. He's been doing that all year, all day, to the point where it's not even LaVine doing in these moments. LaVine is even deferring to him in these moments. Like, that tells you a lot. That tells you a lot. So when you look at it from that aspect, man, that right there is something that, like, I look at, I'm like, yo, DeRozan is killing. He's a whole new guy. And that, to me, gives me the feeling where this playoffs, he might break through in the playoff realm. Obviously, in regular season, he's already broke through right now, right? This is the first time DeRozan has been mentioned as an MVP, candidate for real. But the fact that now he still has his whole playoff woes they exist. So he still has to break out in playoff mode. In playoff scenario, he has to break out. That's a whole separate from regular season. All the MVP shit, all that shit he did right now, it's not going to matter come playoff time. He has now fight those playoff demons that he has to fight. So if 1 year was going to be the year he's going to break out in the playoffs, this is going to be the year, because it's not just the ability, it's not just the stats, not just the whatever. The fact that he's also clutch in the same season, that has been the biggest weakness or mishap or just criticism that DeRozan has received, if you really have the eye test, has been the clutch ability. And the fact that he's already breaking out in the clutch ability in this season. Yes, it's regular season. We know playoffs are a whole different demon, but I've never seen that before. So that tells me that, okay, this is not the same guy. It's not the same guy just killing regular season, sussing in playoffs. Because in the same years that he was killing regular season, he was sussing in the clutch. If you really pay attention, kicking the ball, doing kickball, playing FIFA, you know what I mean? Not even getting a shot off, pump fake, trying to draw foul, throwing that shit up, Brick City, turnovers, and not even dog. You've seen it all the time. You've even seen it versus Kawhi when Kawhi came in with the Spurs. Kawhi cookied him. You know what I'm saying? You come on now, it's been known. You haven't seen that this year though. You've seen the opposite. You've seen clutch ability. You've seen him looking like Kawhi, dog, Kobe, MJ, the ability has been crazy, yo. So I always give credit where credit is due. Again, I was always right. Even though to people be like, oh my God, you hate on DeRozan. Now he's killing. To the naked eye, it looks like Banks is wrong. But even when I'm wrong, fam, I'm right. That's why when True talks, you listen. Even when I'm wrong, I'm right. I told y'all what's breaking him is his mental fortitude. If he's to ever get rid of that, he'll be up here. So even when I'm wrong about, oh, you hated on him or whatever, you did it, I'm still right, because the way he's killing is the way I said he should be killing, because he fixed something I said he has to fix. Come on now. Don't get it twisted, fam. I'm that guy. So listen, bro. This is what elite looks like. I'm happy, man. But still, I have to wait till playoff. If I had to assume, he breaks out. But you can't, you know what I mean? I read and react. I'm waiting for that moment. I'm still hesitant to full out saying he's here, even though he's here. You know what I'm saying? So I'm waiting for that playoff, because that's the next level of okay, we can start talking Hall of Fame type talks. We can start talk. He should already be, you know what I mean, based off his numbers. But I'm talking about the ilks you rank, overall, whoever played this game, step in. You're getting you're gonna remembered, because we know in the clutch time in playoffs, when you can perform in the clutch in playoffs, you're always gonna be remembered, no matter what type of player you are. Look at Robert Horry. He's a role player, but he's remembered in playoffs. Why? Because he's always big shot Bob. Chauncey Billups. We could go, the list can go down the line. If you kill when it's time, you'll always be remembered over guys who actually had better seasons and better careers than you. You know what I'm saying? So you got to remember that. So that's why we always focus on clutch. We always focus on playoffs. We always focus on big games, big moments, those scenarios. Obviously, we focus on other things too. But if you kill in the clutch, dog, that's everything. So you already know. It's what elite looks like. I appreciate y'all. You already know. It's True Talks, because True Talks. DeRozan kill it, man. I'm happy for him. And, he just looks like a different person. Mentally, you could just see it on the court, just how his body language, he just exuding confidence. He moves like how he was moving in Drew League. That swagger when he's home and in Drew League, and how he's walking, that's how he's moving right now. So I love to see it, because I've seen him in Drew League. I'm like, dog, this ability, come on now. It's mentally. That's why it's not working. That's why you're not displaying it in these other moments. So seeing it like this, dog, It's beautiful to see. It's what elite looks like. I appreciate y'all. You already know. Again, like I said, share, like, and subscribe. Click that notification button so you know when I'm here. Because I'm here. You feel me? It's what elite looks like, man. Dog. This is beautiful to see. Spread the word, yo. Tell a friend to tell a friend to tell your friend or a friend. You feel me? It's what elite looks like. I appreciate y'all. You already know, man. We're going to the All-Star break. We still going to do videos, etc. So, you know, we'll see what elite looks like. We'll see how this goes, bruh. It's beautiful to see, man. I appreciate y'all. Let's get it. And I'm out, man.